All right, get ready for a deep dive today.
Oh, yeah. Diving deep today.
We're going to be tackling depression,
Mm-hmm.
but through a lens that you might not expect. We're going to be looking at it through the Bible.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring this really unique perspective using this book, Depression, a biblical perspective discipleship manual by Rod Vidal.
Interesting.
So what I find really fascinating about this manual is that it goes beyond just the psychology of depression.
Right.
It delves into this whole spiritual dimension, suggesting that faith, like genuinely, can be a powerful tool
Wow.
for healing and restoration.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people who are struggling with depression find really, really helpful, actually. This idea that there's something bigger than themselves that they can tap into.
Yeah, and it's not just like this clinical, like, here's the diagnosis, here's the medication kind of approach.
Right.
It's really looking at it from a holistic perspective.
It's a different way of framing the conversation.
Yeah.
You see, this manual, it argues that depression might be a natural,
Okay.
even predictable response
Interesting.
to difficult circumstances. It's like, you think of it as our bodies, our minds, they're trying to cope
Makes sense.
when life throws those curveballs our way,
Yeah.
which it inevitably does.
Right, exactly. So when the manual talks about, inadequate coping strategies, what does that actually look like in this context?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting, I think. The manual kind of suggests that when we rely solely on our own strength, our own limited understanding,
Devices. Yeah.
exactly, to navigate those challenges, we end up feeling overwhelmed.
Loss.
Lost, exactly.
Oh.
And it's like, it's like trying to navigate a maze in the dark
Ooh, that's a good analogy.
without asking for directions, right?
Yeah, and you're bumping into walls the whole time.
Exactly. You're getting more and more lost. You're like, how did I get
And
here?
you're like, I thought I knew this maze. Like, I've been here before, but clearly not.
Exactly. And so the manual's saying we need a source of strength
Okay.
and guidance that's beyond ourselves.
So that's where faith comes in.
That's exactly where faith comes in.
Yeah.
The manual proposes that strong connection with God
Okay.
provides that missing compass,
Yeah. Yeah.
those guiding principles that can help us navigate those dark and difficult times. And it's really about tapping into a source of hope.
Because our circumstances can feel so immediate and so all-consuming when we're in it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's pretty bold to challenge this traditional view of depression solely as a mental illness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how does this manual address, the biological and chemical aspects that are often associated with depression?
That's such an important point. And you're right. The manual doesn't deny the biological factors involved.
Okay.
It's not about saying, it's all in your head or anything like that.
Yeah.
However, it does question this, overemphasis on the chemical imbalance theory,
Okay.
pointing out that the scientific evidence for this theory is not as clear-cut
Interesting.
as we're often led to believe.
So it's not about dismissing science, but it's more about incorporating this other dimension.
It's about expanding our understanding
Okay.
of depression to include this spiritual dimension.
Got it.
Yeah.
So to be clear then, the manual is saying that true healing, becoming whole again, that involves addressing the mind and body,
Yes.
but also the spirit.
Precisely. And I think for a lot of people, that's a missing piece.
Yeah.
They may be doing all the right things. They may be in therapy. They may be on medication.
Taking care of themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's still this sense of something missing.
Yeah.
And that's where, this manual is saying, hey, maybe we need to look at the spiritual dimension as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting because there's this idea that's talked about in the manual of new life.
Yes.
And it made me think of the resurrection and this idea of transformation and renewal. So how does the manual connect those dots?
Oh, that's one of the most powerful parts, I think, of this whole perspective. The manual draws this parallel between Christ's resurrection and our own potential for renewal and transformation. And it suggests that just as Christ overcame death, we too can overcome the grip of despair.
Wow.
And step into this new way of being.
So it's like finding that wellspring of strength within that's fueled by something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
In a way.
It's not about our own willpower.
Right?
It's about tapping into something much, much greater than ourselves.
And that's where those practical biblical principles come into play.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
They're like tools, you know?
Yeah.
They help us tap into that wellspring, that source of strength and renewal.
So the manual mentions several of these tools: prayer, forgiveness, gratitude. Can you take us a little bit deeper into how those principles can be applied when somebody is maybe facing depression or going through a tough time?
Absolutely. Let's take prayer, for example. The manual really emphasizes that prayer isn't just about, going to God with a shopping list of requests.
Right, right.
It's not about gimme, gimme, gimme.
I need this and I need that.
Right. It's really about cultivating a deeper connection with Him.
Okay.
It's about aligning ourselves with His will, finding peace, in surrender, and opening ourselves to His guidance and His strength.
Especially when we feel lost and overwhelmed and we don't know where to turn.
Exactly. It's about finding that source of comfort and guidance when we need it most.
Yeah.
And then there's forgiveness,
Okay, forgiveness, yeah.
both forgiving others and forgiving ourselves.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh, that's a really, really tough one. And this is crucial because holding on to anger and resentment, it can be so incredibly draining.
Yeah, it eats you up inside.
It really does. It keeps us trapped in this cycle of negativity.
Yeah.
The manual really reminds us that forgiveness is this powerful act of letting go
Okay.
that frees us to move forward.
Yeah, forgiveness is almost more for us than it is for the other person.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's about releasing those burdens that we're carrying around
Yeah.
and allowing ourselves to heal.
Yeah. Okay, what about gratitude?
Gratitude.
Yeah.
That is huge. When we're struggling, it's so easy to get caught up in that spiral of negative thoughts.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Just focusing on what's wrong, what's not going our way. But the manual encourages us to actively look for things to be grateful for.
Even small things.
Even the small things.
Yeah.
The fact that we woke up this morning.
Yeah, we have a roof over our heads. Food on the table.
Exactly. And this shift in focus, even if it's subtle, it can have this really profound impact on our outlook.
It's about training our minds to focus on the good, even when we're surrounded by darkness.
Exactly. And that's really the ultimate message of the manual. While depression is real, it's a real struggle.
It's a real battle.
It is a real battle, absolutely. Yeah. We are not powerless against it.
Okay.
By embracing our spiritual side, by applying these biblical principles, we can find the strength and the resilience to navigate those challenges.
And move forward.
To move forward and step into a place of healing, wholeness, and new life.
It's a powerful reminder that we are not alone in this journey.
We're not alone.
Now, here's something I want you to think about as we wrap up. We've talked about identity, resurrection, these practical tools for spiritual growth. How do you think integrating those principles, not just in the context of depression, but into your daily life, how might that impact your own experience of facing challenges in a broader sense?
That's a really good question.
It's something to think about, right?
It is, it is.
Okay, well, on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Absolutely. Always good to be here.
Until next time.
See you later.